News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Brought to you by Little Stinkers lilac-scented baby orangutan diapers. A fresh-smelling orangutan is a happy orangutan. Choose from Action Fit, Triple Absorbency, or Overnight Comfort varieties. Bring the joy of potty training a jungle animal back into your life with Little Stinkers lilac-scented baby orangutan diapers.
Oh, thank you, Kelly Cruz. You know, Allan, I was on the fence about whether I was ready for an orangutan, but now I think my decision has been made.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, get up off the floor there, sir.
Yeah, well, but
okay?
you got to add in. You have the banana chip flavored spray that goes with that. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning,
And I'm Allan Gilbreth with GeekySideTV.com.
and that was Kelly Cruz. Boy, what a gal! She knows how to find us these great sponsors, Allan. Good for her. And like I said, I may be shopping for an orangutan later.
You go right ahead with that.
All right, Allan. One thing I am not going to be shopping for. Folks, today we're going to be going inside the mind of Allan Gilbreth, so to speak. Well, Allan, I was thinking about it. If you follow Allan on Facebook, which if you have a strong stomach and if you have a strong constitution, you should. Now, Allan, you like to post pictures of what you cook for dinner.
I do.
Because you actually cook it. You don't just order something at a restaurant.
That is correct.
But you also are constantly showing us pictures of what's going on in your backyard. And honestly, I've kept sort of a score, and it's got to be like a jungle back there. It's like you must have your own ecosystem, right? You've got every kind of plant. You've got every sort of water feature. You're really big into all of the planting and everything that goes on out there. So we're going to talk about what is that actually like.
Okay.
Because other people may want to get involved in that kind of a thing. I don't know.
You would be shocked at the number of people that are doing their own gardening and turning the backyard into that little resort spot.
Right.
So you can go out there and chill and relax, put your feet up, roast some marshmallows.
Well, but anyway, so we're going to talk about that. One other thing we're going to talk about, you had an adventure with a mini dozer.
Oh, yes.
I think you even posted pictures of that. And I've had my run-ins with those, and I know there's some people that they use those constantly, and that's kind of a cool experience. We're going to talk about the thrill of the mini dozer.
It is a blast.
Later in the show, we got our buddy Rick Bowman and Brandy Merrick coming in from the Weichert Realtors Benchmark. They're going to talk about winning a home. It's not just anymore, let's go look at a house and give us a few weeks to think about it, and we'll get back to you. Now you have to win. It's heavy competition.
It is a little competitive out there right now.
Absolutely. So we've got our must-have item of the week. We've got one story in science that I can't wait to get to about synthetic 3D printed wood, I think, something along the lines of that.
Well, I'm just going to leave you hanging on that
something
one.
That's kind of like the start of a monster movie. And, of course, if you want to talk to us, you can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline. You can call or text that number at 901-683-0989. So it's all coming at you today on Tool Talk Radio. But before we get to any of that...
And now, Tool Talk Radio's Weekly Salute.
It is well documented that the rugged emperor penguins march up to 70 miles during the winter months in temperatures of 30 degrees below zero. It is also well known that the trusty camel can cross the Sahara Desert in temperatures of 120 degrees while carrying hundreds of pounds of cargo. Slightly less well known, however, is that Allan Gilbreth outdid both of these creatures one hot summer growing up in West Texas during his short-lived career as a walk-in ice cream freezer repairman. Yeah, God, wow, you got some temperature swings on that one, Allan, don't you? So, while Allan and other mammals may be capable of enduring the heat and cold weather, however, the rest of us need protection from those extreme temperatures. Throughout the centuries, humanity has strove to construct homes able to maintain a comfortable interior temperature even during the harshest of weather. In the year 1932, an inventor named Dale Kleist made a landmark discovery quite accidentally during a failed experiment involving high heat and glass blocks. Though the main objective of this experiment was unsuccessful, Mr. Kleist realized that the byproduct of his failed experiment could be exceedingly useful. And so in 1938, after much development, a patent was filed for the remarkable product we honor today. My friends, we give you fiberglass insulation. Well, Allan, hey, we're on another roll. If you remember, folks, last week we had an invention that sort of just came about accidentally or inadvertently, I think is the word we drove home. And this one, it's the same thing, right, Allan? I mean, fiberglass insulation just sort of happened, right?
Well, it's more complicated than that, and even more simple.
Okay.
All right, some form of spun or thrown glass has been around for thousands of years.
Because I'm thinking out when you melt glass, like I watch those glass blower competitions, and there's
Exactly.
all the little thin strands that fall off. Well,
Right.
that instead of that being garbage, that turned out to be like the
but
thing.
it turned
exactly
out to
they
be
need.
decorative. It turned out to be have all these little cool aspects to it. And the earliest patent for glass fibers was a guy named Hermann Hamsfahr, who's a Prussian inventor.
No kidding.
And about in 1880, he came along and went, we got the stuff. Look at this. And, and it just didn't act like glass.
Right.
It was kind of like wool, just kind of bouncy and all that. And then you get into a little.
So it had a little flex to it.
Yeah. Then you get a little snit fight going on between a couple of companies that we'll get into when we come back.
Was that guy's? You said his name was Herman what?
That was Hermann Hamsfahr.
This is a side thing. Herman has always been one of my favorite men's names. I don't know why. Every guy I ever met named Herman, I liked him. I haven't met a lot of them. They're kind of from another generation.
There's a small club there. Yeah.
So there was a competition going on?
Well, yeah, there's a few companies that are going to start fussing at each other all during the 30s and 40s.
Okay, isn't that kind of how it happens?
Oh,
right?
yeah, every time.
It starts, somebody gets that. So we're definitely saluting fiberglass insulation, but there's a little more to the story. So we're going to get to that when we come back. And speaking of things, more to the story, when we come back, we're also going to get deeper into the mind of Allan Gilbreth and find out what goes into having the ultimate backyard. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan. News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, go over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and get in on the action over there. I've already posted the must-have item of the week, Allan, so those people that just, they need their spoilers, go for it. You'll be ahead of everybody else out there. You can find out, and you don't have to wait 15 minutes to discover what's going on. But we also want to know what's going on with you. So send us messages, send us pictures. We love videos and pictures, right, Allan?
Oh, yeah.
Give us a like. Give us
your
a follow.
triumphs and your tribulations.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
want to see them both.
Well, actually, speaking of triumphs and tribulations, Allan, we were talking before the break about fiberglass. That was fiberglass insulation, which came about because of fiberglass, which you don't want to get that in your skin. It hurts. But it's like, there was a little more to the story that we wanted to unpack.
Right. Well,
here.
there was glass fibers, and then there's glass wool.
Okay.
So at the time of, even though they're almost identical, there was still some consternation as to who developed what.
Okay.
Because, again, we go back to 1880, and here we got Herman going, hey, look, I got glass fibers. Then your company's coming along going, hey, well, I think we know how to make these.
Wait, is this like Edison and Tesla?
Exactly.
Oh,
because
gotcha.
over here at the Owens, Illinois Manufacturing Company, you had a guy by the name of Games Slater. Seriously, his name is Games.
Come on.
No, seriously, Games Slater. And I love how they phrase this in the corporate annals. Accidentally discovered. You love those words, right?
Accidentally
discovered.
Sounds like some corporate espionage going on there.
And what he did was he directed a jet of compressed air at a ball of molten glass.
Okay.
And it blew with such force, it blew it apart into what they called glass wool.
Oh. And then And then they let it cool, and then they watered
and they
it up.
kind of looked at it and went, this is kind of cool. This is kind of interesting and all of that. And then along comes, in 1935, the Corning Company,
right,
which did
Names we all
porcelains and
know.
stuff like that. And Owens, Illinois became Owens Corning.
Yeah.
And Owens Corning actually patented the name fiberglass.
Interesting.
And that was about 1936. So here you had several different, there were actually a number of companies out there all working independently of each other that kind of came up with these, the technology came around at the same time, and everybody went, hey, we got high pressure gas. We can make new technologies. We can play with new stuff. So several different people were doing this simultaneously. But it's not until about 36 to 40 when the DuPont company gets involved. And what they needed, fiberglass, like you said, you don't get it in your skin. It cracks too easy.
Yeah.
It breaks and all that kind of stuff. Well, so here we've had all these different companies, glass fibers, glass wool, compressed air, being able to mass produce it, but it still wasn't really usable. So here comes DuPont, and they go, hey, guys, what you need here is a resin. You need something to coat it, to keep it from, being so volatile. And they came up with their own version with a coating, and that was actually the beginning of the world of the polyester.
Huh. Okay, but Alan, I have a question though. At the beginning, when they found these little shards of glass and this fiberglass kind of wool that you talked about, did their mind immediately go to insulation? Because that's not where my mind would have gone. I would never think of glass as an insulating fabric. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And
again, that's another accidental thing, because once you piled up once they had made enough to pile it up, there is again another story of the accidental discovery of the fact that the room was really warm until you picked up the fiberglass, and underneath it was really nice, nice and cool.
See, it's funny, Alan. My mind went to, this was like a Marvel origin story. Like there's a guy on the other side of this big pile of fiberglass where an explosion happens. And it protects him, but the fiberglass also gets embedded into him, and he can now withstand all temperatures. And anyway, I don't know what you call them.
Well, that's what the marketing department said.
But I was just, it's interesting. So okay, well, so these guys finally had to kind of join up forces, right?
Well, as we get to the end of it, you kind of wind up with a rosin coated, spun or blown glass fiber that has now what we call R ratings, R factors. And you still have 2 or 3 different companies that make it out there.
Right.
You go to your big box store, you will see the pink stuff, you'll see the blue stuff, you'll see the yellow stuff. But it's all fundamentally the same product, the same technology, but it was these different companies all taking a different view of it in the 30s that brought it to what we have today.
Well, and Alan, fiberglass insulation and the insulation technologies that we have today, I mean, there's such a big improvement. We need to do a deep dive on this one time, because, I mean, you've told me stories about insulating your house with hay, which attracts bugs and which can smell, and insulating with mud and all these other things, which I don't know.
I know of a house in Illinois that was insulated with movie posters.
There you go. Not the smartest move there. Those things are probably worth some money, man.
Well, when they renovated the house, I'm sure it paid for itself, because they found posters people forgot existed.
But that's what we like to do here on Tool Talk Radio. Bring you back in history to some of the stuff, and it really is interesting when you learn about it. So.
I remember, quick side story. I remember in the 60s when the companies were pitching this stuff. Because keep in mind, from the 30s to the 60s, guys, that's only 30 years.
Yeah.
It's not that long, and a lot of houses were built without it.
Right.
And now the big thing is, hey, we want to blow this stuff into your attic, and you're calling it glass, and people are looking at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember they had a fiberglass sleeve that they would turn your oven on to broil.
Oh,
seriously, they would turn your oven on to broil, let it get really hot for just a second, and they had a sleeve that they would put a popsicle in.
Oh, I thought you were about who gets to test that. I thought somebody.
And they would put a popsicle in this sleeve and put it in your oven, and look at their watch for like 90 seconds, and then they would take it out, and the popsicle would still be frozen.
Now that's cool.
I remember that demonstration vividly from, more years ago than I'm going to confess.
Yeah. Plan on that, folks. Plan on a deep dive into all sorts of insulation, because I'm thinking, Allan, that's going to lean into our love of space science. Think of the insulation you need if you're going to outer space.
Well, that is the great grandfather of ceramic tiles that keep spaceships from burning up.
Yeah. Very interesting. So once again, that was a pretty long salute, but very interesting to fiberglass insulation. So in a minute, Allan, we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna get away from high technology and get as primal as you can when we talk about your backyard. But before we do that, Allan, I just want to remind everybody, if and this ties right in with insulation, if you need any HVAC needs, if you need the air quality in your home improved with these Remy Halo systems, if you need a more secure home, actually, I would say even a more fun home with the smart home system. I mean, just I could see myself, if you can turn your lights on and off, if you can adjust the temperature all through your phone.
Yep, there's an app for that.
Think of how you could mess with your kids with that.
Yes.
Time to go to bed, turn the lights
shower.
up. Yeah. So you can do it all with Brown Refrigeration. They're great people over there. Larry and his wife are a hoot anyway.
Yes.
They're funny, and they got a great crew. And, Allan, you've dealt with their team many times. You've got them on retainer. They're the only company we recommend.
On speed dial.
Yeah, we all use them. We've all recommended them highly. I've had great results with them, and they're just cool people. So you can get in touch with the good people at Brown Refrigeration at 901-362-1881, or go to their website, brownref.com. Well, Allan, it got me thinking. I was sitting there looking at you. I've looked at your posts. I actually pay attention to this stuff, Allan, so you better watch what you say about me on social media. But, you literally every other day you're saying, okay, here's these begonia plants or whatever the heck. They're flowering nicely. Here's the such and such. And I'm like, okay, how many plants could he actually have? I know you have a huge backyard, and I know you like to fill every square inch of that with plants. I'm just picturing, I remember that Star Trek episode when Jean-Luc Picard went back to France, because he grew up on a vineyard where they made the wine and everything, and it's just rows and rows and acres of grapes. And I'm like, it looked like a lot of work to me, man. They're out there trimming vines and doing all this stuff. So, but what is that actually like, Allan? Let's take us, for people that might be interested in maybe going down this road.
Okay.
What is this like?
All right. I will give you my beginnings with this. The words "raised by wolves" leaps to mind.
Okay. And in Allan's case, that's not a metaphor.
It's pretty close. I remember, the early days of the parental units attempting to garden. Let's just say either the words "not so much" or "wow, was that a waste of time?"
Oh, so they didn't have the green thumb.
Well, they had the green thumb. They just didn't have the ability or the patience, or I should say the forethought of what you're trying to do.
What are you trying to do? See, that's what I can't get. I know you're a chef. Sorry, and I'm going to interrupt a lot, folks, so you got to forgive me. But Allan, we know you're a gourmet chef, and we're not exaggerating either. Allan he makes his own wine. So I do see where you might want to grow your own herbs and your own, because you're going to actually cook them. But what is the average person? Are they doing this? Or are they...
Joe, everybody goes from the grass farm of the backyard, which is just, you should be raising sheep, because all you have back there is grass.
Yeah.
There are people that absolutely have no business playing with dirt. Yeah. If you have no love of it, you have no inspiration for it, then please, for heaven's sakes, don't do it.
Just going to
get you a lawnmower, hire the neighborhood kid to cut your yard, and be happy.
Right.
Now, once you get the bug, it's hard to put it back down, because, wow, those sunflowers are beautiful.
Yeah.
Sunflowers aren't hard to grow. No, basically sunflowers are giant weeds. So, but you have to be honest.
Yeah.
How big is this plant going to get? How much space is it going to take up? And what do I have to do to keep it alive?
Yeah.
You need to know this before you do it.
Okay, see, that's what I'm wondering, Allan. A lot of people might go into the big box store, they go to the garden section, and they go, wow, that flower or that plant is really interesting looking.
Oh, the garden center loves you because, well, these are the mini version, and they're never going to get any bigger than 2 inches, which is going to be a gross disappointment to you.
Yeah.
Or they forget to mention highly invasive. which means
like
it's
bamboo.
Oh, it's moving. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Here's this cute little bamboo that doesn't get over 4 feet tall. It does get 4 miles wide.
Right.
So, having an idea of what you want before you do it.
Okay.
I will pick on a little while back, a dear friend was kind of like, well, I want a fire pit, but I hate the stuff I see at the store.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, great. You know what cinder blocks are? I'm like, well, sure. Okay. I have a truck. You have an afternoon and you have cinder blocks.
Okay. But you also need to know, well, gosh, we're steering around because you need to know the right kind of stone that's not going to explode.
Oh, well, that's why we went for the cinder blocks that were heat treated.
Right. Let's mention that, folks.
And, this is why they went and asked somebody first and was like, all right, well, so what do you want? Well, then let's get something we can. Cinder blocks to a person that gardens are grown-up Legos.
They are.
Because you can
yeah.
rearrange them. You can make tables out of them. You can make gardens out of them. You can make a fire pit. We'll go into more when we come back.
Yeah, because it is interesting. And Allan, you're making me think here, which is always a bad thing. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to learn more about what goes into making a menagerie. No, that's great.
What?
Turning your backyard into a jungle like Allan Gilbreth's.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan. News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorgerson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV and our pal Maximilian behind the glass. We like that. We both agree, Max. We like that little Tim Allen soundbite. Very good. You can get in touch with us. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like, send us pictures, interact with us that way. Actually, I think, Allan, if they ask us questions, we can probably answer in real time.
We're pretty close. Yep.
We like texts and we like those kind of messages. So, anyway, Allan, before we went to break, among other things, we've been talking about, your backyard is very well, I don't know what, there's a lot of foliage back there. There's a lot of plants.
You can have lunch in one tour of my backyard.
Well, I was going to say, if the grid ever goes down, go to Allan Gilbreth's house. I mean, he's got enough food there for the next couple of years, and he knows how to cook it too. So, but I was wondering what that experience is like, and we were kind of getting an inside look at what goes on to maintain this, Allan. And it sounds like what you were saying is, don't just buy. Okay, don't be an impulse buyer when it comes to plants, for sure, right? You got to research and know what they're going to do.
You got to have a goal.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, not that I'm not an impulse buyer, because if you look in the back of my truck right now, you will realize I have a slight Lowe's issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, the name of the game is, what do you actually want to do? All right. Well, I'd like to have a little herb garden. Okay, where do you want it? Well, I have a big dog that runs up and down the fence. Well, guess what? It ain't going against the fence. Mm-hmm. Do you have something off the patio? Do you have whatever? And then, this is where I'm going to tell people, don't be afraid of some chemicals, because there are some wonderful substances out there that kill grass and kills grass dead.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is, think this through. This is not a one-time project. Once you're going to put this in, this is something you're probably going to do year after year after year. Because once you get used to, and this is really addictive, do you use a lot of parsley? Okay, well, guess what? Now you can have fresh parsley year-round right outside the back door. Bunching onions. You can have a big old pot full of bunching onions right there on the patio. They look nice. They look cool. And you don't have to run down to the local store because you want to add a little onion to dinner.
Okay.
So,
well, I got a question about this, Allan, because you're talking about what do you want to get out of this experience, yes. I guess is. So basically, because I relate this to woodworking, because that's my forte. That's the plant I deal with.
Yes.
But like I said, wood turning is one of those things, and I know it's true with painting, and there's some other forms of art where when you're in the middle of doing it, your mind is relaxed. You're not thinking about the stresses of the day, and it's therapeutic. So woodworking, some forms of woodworking for me are therapeutic, and I'm assuming it's the same with some forms of what you're dealing with.
All right. The trick is you want to be relaxed 90% of the time.
Okay.
The 10% of the time where you're going to be fussing, cussing, and carrying on is going to be setting it up.
Yeah.
Because you really do want to have plant separation, aka of landscape timbers, rails, or any of that stuff you see sold at your garden center.
Right.
To separate the grass from your plants. You're also going to discover the wonderful world of mulch.
Well, that's what I wonder. How much manure are you dealing with here, Allan?
Well,
mulch,
well, generally now, see, in the Mid-South, depending upon your subdivision, you could have pretty decent soil or you could have scraped clay.
Okay.
Just depending upon how your neighborhood was built.
Yeah.
If you bought an older home, anything 40, 50 years or older, chances are you probably got pretty good dirt.
Okay.
So, however, I am a huge proponent of raising the bed a couple of inches. So you buy a few bags of topsoil, you mix in 1 bag of compost, and voila, you now have a bed separated from the grass, raised a couple of inches, ready to go, and it needs to be the appropriate size for what you're growing.
It makes sense to me that you'd want the super nutrients and all that. You want the high strength soil in there, so you mix some of that stuff in, right?
Well, yeah, but you don't have to be super duper.
Okay.
And a lot of people overkill. You don't have to buy the $20 a bag stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to. Again, the plants their little roots are gonna go where they want to go. They're gonna do what they want to do. Keep in mind, the plant wants to live. The plant wants to grow. You just pick the right spot, and it's gonna do its thing.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind how big the plants are going to get. People forget. They buy that cute little baby pumpkin that has like the 2 leaves on it. They don't realize that that's a 14-foot long vine.
Okay.
It's going everywhere. So you need to have space.
Right.
If you want to put in something perennial like strawberries, or you're going to go whole hog and you're going to put in blueberries and blackberries, and you're going to put in a grape arbor. These are things that take a little planning, and they need space because it's going to grow. Just because it's tiny this year, doesn't mean 2 or 3 years from now it's not going to be 12 foot tall.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift gear, not shift gears. I want to expand on this actually, Allan, because what I'm thinking right now is there's people that have kids out there, and maybe let's suppose you're somebody that enjoys gardening, and you this is an enriching experience in your life, and you want to pass it on to your kids. I'm guessing there's a right way and a wrong way to do this, right? Because you don't want to make it so labor intensive that they're like, okay, the thrill is gone. Like, I'm thinking of kids that when they want to learn the piano and then they realize how much work it is, they might get discouraged. So what's the best way to bring young people into this?
Grow what they want.
Meaning, okay, talk to me.
All right, here's the thing. All right, I work with a lot of hospitals, and one hospital had this terrible courtyard. Mm-hmm. It was okay, but I mean, it was no reason to go out there. So we took a lot of pre-existing features and added planter boxes on top of it.
Right.
So now here was this cool maze of all these boxes full of dirt, and now families, the kids, grandma, grandpa, everybody could go out there, and the rule was plant something fun.
Okay.
And
well, you might think something's fun, Allan, and
well,
what if I think poison ivy is a lot of fun?
Well, what everybody normally thought was fun was stuff like cherry tomatoes.
Okay. Yeah.
Or I'm thinking of one young lady. She was about 4 or 5 years old. She wanted to grow a basil plant.
Okay.
Well, to her, pesto was like the greatest thing in the world.
I agree with her 100% there.
Well, see, there you go. You learn your bait.
Yeah.
So, are you really love strawberries? Well, let's plant some strawberries. Do you really love, if you love pesto, let's grow some basil. Whatever they're into, now that's theirs.
Well, they get a sense of ownership. So it's like we talk about when we're trying to get them interested in tools, have them build something that they can actually achieve.
That they want to do, and make it achievable. And don't be afraid to start in a container. Yeah. The container technology out there now is amazing. So for $10 to $20, you can buy a suitable size container, and you can grow potatoes in a container these days.
Yeah.
So you can grow pretty much anything you want to try.
And you can move it.
Before you get out digging up the yard and that kind of stuff. And if you're afraid the kids are going to lose interest, hey, you're out. You're not even out a container. You just, it's something you didn't.
Well, you didn't dig
do.
up your yard, like
right? You didn't dig up the yard and spend a lot of money and a lot of time. But the biggest thing is and I'm going to say go small, go now.
Okay.
If you are a bell pepper fan.
Yeah.
If you just, you got a lot of people got different taste. Well, there are 50 different types of bell pepper out there. Try one in a container. See how you do. And then it gets kind of infectious because if you do well, then you want to do more of them.
Okay.
And that's when you're ready to put in a bed and try it. You can grow a sunflower. You can grow whatever you want in a container.
All right. Well, Allan, it's funny. We didn't even scratch the surface here because we still haven't gotten to your koi pond or to all the water features or to that one corner of the yard that nobody's allowed to go to without.
Oh, that's behind the arbors, baby.
Bulletproof vest on. But that'll be a regular thing. But and if you're out there and you've got interest in this, let us know. We'd like to see this stuff.
Yeah, feel free to send me some questions. Be happy to answer them for you.
Absolutely. So, and speaking of people that you can ask questions to, Allan, Big M Roofing and Remodeling.
Oh, yes.
We got to talk about our pals over there. Allan, is your roofing contractor a former insurance agent? I ask you this every week.
Yeah, I know.
Jay Hill with Big M Roofing. He's the man. Think of that background. He started off in insurance. Got interested. He wanted to get into the outdoors and work with his hands. So then he turns into a roofing contractor and suddenly realizes, wait a minute, I've got unique experience here. I know the ins and outs.
I know this industry.
Because let's face it, folks, one of the big challenges is if you are replacing your roof, you want to know if that's covered by your homeowner's insurance. That's an interesting prospect to navigate. And so if you've got an expert, he's not only a GAF Master Elite contractor, with all sorts of 5-star reviews from the Better Business Bureau, but he knows the whole process. So it's critical and it's super, super helpful. And he's just a fun guy anyway. So Jay Hill will hook you up. They know it all. They can help you navigate the claims process pretty seamlessly.
Very effectively, yes.
Get in touch with Jay. You can call him at 901-484-5645 or visit bigmroofingandremodeling.com. And listen for Jay here on Tool Talk Radio when he makes his regular appearances. Well, you are listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about 3D printed wood.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I wonder if they're fraternal or identical tools.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Yeah, Allan, it wouldn't be Tool Talk if we didn't hear from that guy. Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989 or go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Well, do that anyway. Give us a like. See what the must-have item of the week is. That's coming up shortly, but if you can't wait, you can check it out now. If you've got any interesting home improvement adventures of your own, send that over to us as well. We love to hear from you. So, well, Allan, we've kind of, we love our science here. And we've been talking about plants, which is interesting. We've been talking about what's going on in your backyard, giving a little behind the scenes look at what goes into having all sorts of plants and getting maybe young people interested. Well, this caught my attention because you brought a science story in our show prep the other day. And do I have this right? 3D printed synthetic, or it's growing, or there's some new kind of wood that is going to come out of a machine, which sounds a little bit Star Trek-y to me.
Well, I love the show Star Trek and the fact that one of the number one complaints they have is staying ahead of real technology.
Oh, yeah, because, the Kirk's communicator is like child's play compared to our smartphones, right? Even the tricorder, I don't know if it has an app for some of the stuff we can do.
I remember the first time I saw a real tricorder, in the hospital with my father. He's standing there and the doctor takes the little device and waves it over him a few times. It even made the tricorder noise.
Oh, nice.
It
so
did.
You know there was a Trekkie involved
You
in that
know,
development.
you just know that there's an engineer going, this has nothing to do with how this thing works, but you got to have it.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just points it at the wall and presses a button on it, and all the results start printing out.
Nice.
And that was 20 plus years ago.
Right.
So let's fast forward a little bit. One of the geekiest things we have been waiting on, people like you and I, have been 3D printers.
Well, they're pretty interesting. Yeah. I mean, and I remember when they first came out, Allan, where you might print a little action figure of like Luke Skywalker or something. It took like 2 days or something.
Well, but it made it.
It was making it, yeah.
But it made it.
Right.
So when you thought about the act of creativity to production, 2 days to produce your prototype was nothing.
Yeah, and if I may, Allan, one thing, because I'm a big fan of Jay Leno's Garage, which, folks, if you want to relax and just watch interesting content, watch Jay Leno's Garage. They got all these cars. Well, Allan, he might have a car from the 1930s, and he needs a distributor cap from a model that it's not around anymore. Well, he 3D prints a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So there you go. Yeah.
Welcome to the technology. Now, of course, you knew the minute 3D printers showed up, there would be 3,000 variations.
Of course.
And now we have monstrous commercial 3D printers.
Oh, yeah.
To the point now where there is even a company out there that has made the claim that they can print a rocket in a day and assemble it tomorrow and it will fly.
I don't doubt it anymore.
I don't doubt it
anymore.
anymore.
Stuff like that, yeah.
So, all right, let's go look at our wonderful friends at MIT.
Okay.
You know they got... You think we see some wild stuff?
My brother graduated.
Can you picture what's going on at MIT? And
Yeah.
we would just spend a whole week giggling.
Oh yeah,
walking through that place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the idea: wood is valuable.
Yeah,
wood is never not going to be valuable.
Sure.
So there's a certain length of time it takes to grow a tree.
Oh boy, I think I know where we're going with this. Yeah.
Right. So what if, now, see, the theory behind this has already been established. About 15 years ago, there were a couple of science projects where they were working with human skin.
Yeah.
And they had a gel matrix. And the idea was, a gentleman needed a patch for his ear.
Well, if you're a burn victim or
exactly,
something, you need something that's going to...
So the doctors had this weird idea, and they went down to the tech department and said, hey, we want one of your HP inkjet printers. And what they did was they inkjet printed a cellular matrix of human skin in the shape of an ear on the growing substrate.
Who gets to clean that machine after?
I think they were told to keep it. So, however, the funny thing is, the cells survived. They didn't just survive, they thrived. And they grew a patch of skin already pre-cut to the exact size they needed for the surgery.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that was 15 years ago. So now we're just fast forwarding a little further, and we need to talk about a substance that makes plants nice and firm.
Okay.
And this is where you get into the right plant hormones and that type of stuff to trigger the cells to produce lignin.
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 Never heard of it,
lignin. Well, lignin is your life, Joe.
Yeah.
That's that stuff you're grinding away on your lathe.
Okay.
And that is...
Lignin is what makes wood durable.
That's the living polymer that makes wood firm.
Okay.
So lignin's kind of your life. So here we go. So the guys at MIT are going, well, and again, I love how technology piles on top of itself.
Sure.
What if we were to just take the cells, properly adjust the hormones, and print a 2x4 and have it grow
but Allan,
as a 2x4?
But here's the thing. So this is what I'm trying to get at. So you obviously you have to have a material inside this thing. Right, to print, you got to have
there's a gel matrix, correct?
So you're starting with the gel, which has to be made from something. But
yes,
to me, it's like, well, if you're just cranking something in one end and cranking it out the other, there's no value to it. However, if you're cranking in something that's like the size of a cup, and when it grows, it's going to be the size of a, I don't know what, like it's going to be the size of a table. Suddenly, is this what's going on? Like, does this grow? I guess what I'm trying to see is what is the benefit here?
All right, here's what we're going to do.
It sounds like MDF to me, like manufactured,
no,
whatever. Okay.
No, you are incorrect.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to create a fake coral reef.
Okay.
All right, so think about a coral reef. Coral reef is living stuff with lots of holes in it.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to print a matrix using kind of a coral reef as a design template, and you're going to insert all the spots where the wood cells can grow.
Are you going to be able to manipulate that? Because, some woods are more porous than others. Some are stronger. Some are heavier.
Depends on what you put in for your source material.
Some hold stain better than others. So.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So
I'm starting to get interested.
Now suddenly, let's say we have that living maple matrix, and we're going to print it so that it can grow and fill in to be a 2x4 or the back of a chair or whatever shape you want it to grow into.
You're using the word grow, though. Are you talking about that it actually grows, or
these cells will actually live, divide, and grow, produce lignin, and become a wood?
Alan, this sounds like a potential monster movie, though. Because I'm just thinking, what if you can't control the growth rate? Then
that's why they have the hormone control.
This really is an MST3K episode.
Or make really good friends with it because Swamp Thing is going to be in your backyard.
Wait, Alan, we always talk about this stuff, and I always forget to ask you the question until the end, but are they doing this now, or is it, like, in other words, when is this coming to a big box store?
This is an ongoing experiment.
Okay.
But this was so close and near and dear to your heart, I had to kind of go, all right, Joe, we love to talk about 3D printers. We love to talk about what they're growing in the lab. At least I do.
Yeah.
And this one actually ties into our world amazingly because now we could actually grow the matrix the way we wanted it to grow.
Well, that's what I'm wondering about. Like if you need because Alan, I'll be honest, there's times where for my wood turnings especially, they unfortunately here in Memphis we don't have we have one store that does sell a limited amount of woods that are suitable for turning, but they don't have everything. There's some woods that I would love to get my hands on, but I have to order it through the internet and it could take weeks or months. Well, I could just grow a facsimile of that.
Well, how about we grow that exact genetic matrix, but leave the tree in the forest?
Oh, wait a minute. But what is this gel made of? It's still.
Well, all right, your growth.
You're going down a scary road, Alan.
Well, all right, your growth. All right, all of your growth matrices are basically a variation of nutrient auger.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Nutrient auger is that stuff at the bottom of a Petri dish, right?
Exactly. Do you know where that comes from?
I don't know if I want to know.
That is actually a byproduct of kelp, the fastest growing algae on the planet.
Okay. All right.
So growing auger is no problem.
Yeah.
Kelp grows 2 feet a day. It's the kudzu of the sea, but it's actually useful.
Right.
It also makes a really fine almond jello if you're a fan of Chinese food.
Okay.
So the nutrient matrix that we're using to grow things is not that difficult to come up with. It's not an environmentally impactful substance.
Interesting. For now. We know this stuff breaks down okay because at some point,
we've got plenty of it. We've had it for millions of years. So it's not a problem.
So is this the kind of thing though? You don't want to burn it, right? What if you grew a synthetic piece of wood and then you try to it
will burn just like wood.
Really?
Because it's not
sure
synthetic wood. It's wood. It just didn't come off of a chainsaw.
Because we're not supposed to burn. By the way, folks, if you have some treated lumber, don't go burning that. That's
because we pumped all kinds of poisons and other stuff into treated wood to keep it from rotting and being eaten by insects.
Right.
And now you're aerosoling those very harsh chemicals.
Right. Okay. And you're sure? Okay. So
this is not a harsh chemical. This is actually a living grown wood.
So I'm guessing the average person, they're not going to have one of these printers themselves, but they might go ahead and become a customer to get the wood
right.
they want.
This would, well, picture this. All right, Joe.
I'm just picturing what the lumber yard of the future is going to look like, Allan.
Well, how about, the lumber yard is going to look the same. It's the lumber yard supplier that's going to look like a big chemical factory. How would you like to have pre-curved or even circular wood grown for you?
See, it's funny you say that, Al. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, well, you could get a board instead of, because when I go to my big box store, I always have to go through and check the boards if they're warped or bowed or cupped or something. Well, I'm assuming these come out pretty straight, or if you want them curved, like you said.
But what if you want to do a curved banister?
Yeah.
Why not just grow the curved banister instead of having to sweat it and heat treat it and curve it and go through this big long process to create it? Why not just grow it in that shape?
I don't know, Allan. As somebody that wants to earn a living as a craftsman in the woodworking field, I'm starting to see shades of robots coming in and taking my job.
No, because it's still wood. It has to be handled by somebody like us that knows what they're doing.
For now,
to install it, to take care of it, to sand it, to shape it exactly, to get it to do what you want.
I'm going to have to marinate on this one, Allan. I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold. I like the notion of having some more control over the type of material I'm working with and the ability, but,
or the availability of some nice rare exotics that now don't damage the environment.
Wait, is there any wood grain in these?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that's my head is swimming here, folks. I'm sorry, but Allan, this story cuts deep. I'm really torn. I love biotechnology, but I find this thing, there could be implications here that are somewhat shocking and possibly destructive to my livelihood. Anyway, well, we hope we're not shocking and destructive to your livelihood. If we are, too bad. Well. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to turn the corner. We got our buddy Rick Bowman and Brandy Merritt coming in later in the show to talk about winning strategies to get your home.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. Let's try that. Coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. Don't know what's wrong there, Allan. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, or go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Give us a like, send us messages that way, and interact with us and join the Tool Talk crew. Well, if you're just tuning in, another one of these wide-ranging shows. We went from primal subjects, such as what to grow in your backyard, to the latest in technology of what to grow in a laboratory, and how robots will probably eventually take my job, Allan, and we might be growing our own trees through it. Well, creating our own or whatever out of a gel matrix from a thing. Well, possible. It looks like it triggered some texts, Allan. You're getting some messages about that. What's going?
Well, I guess we'll address the first one. Says you can't grow corn in a container.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge. That sounds like the gauntlet got dropped on that one, right?
All right. Well, here's what I'm the first thing I'm going to say to that is, then you're going to have to explain that to the corn I have growing in containers in my backyard right now.
Wait, somebody said that as like a definitive thing?
Yes, like you cannot grow corn in a container.
Maybe they can't grow corn in a container.
Well, I happen to have 4 of South American blue corns.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to get big, luscious ears of corn off of these, but the seeds were getting very, very old, so I wanted to at least get a little bit of new seed. So I put, I have 4 containers with blue corn in it, and I'll get about half ears off of it, but there'll be plenty of new seed for next year, so I can put in a full plot.
Okay. All right.
So, yes, I can grow corn in a container.
Yeah, don't tell Allan he can't do something.
That's a personal challenge.
Right.
The next one I got was, can you grow a custom 3D house?
All
right. Well,
sounds like the Flintstones. Or
well,
something.
what I'm going to have to say is they've been doing that for over 1,000 years.
Growing a house.
Growing a custom 3D house.
Meaning
I'm
what?
going to introduce you to a wonderful plant called the Strangler Fig.
Okay. Yeah.
The Strangler Fig is a vine from the fig family, and what it does is it grows up around another structure, crushes it to death, takes its form, and then stiffens up into a tree.
So it's like a lawyer.
Yeah. Whoa.
But bump. Okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
Please
we don't have any
send-
lawyer sponsors,
Yeah,
do we?
please send all hate mail care of Joe Thorntonson. Basically in the parts of the world where this plant grows natively, they can even train it to become a living bridge.
Interesting. Now
So
that is interesting, honestly. It sounds like kudzu, but stronger.
It's kudzu's really, really big cousin.
Okay.
But a strangler fig can be, being a vine at first, can be wrapped around whatever shape or structure that you want. And then when it solidifies up into its tree form, congratulations, you have a custom 3D house.
Okay, but I think you're dodging the question.
I know.
So, yeah.
Can you grow a custom 3D house? At this point, no. But are we pretty close to being able to 3D print you a house? We're getting there.
I'm thinking how big this printer's got to be. I mean, you probably just build the components and assemble it, right? Let's not get carried away.
Exactly. But you're going to see more and more of this technology slipping into place where different aspects of a construction are going to be more and more automated.
Well, here's one thing, and I didn't even think we'd get into this today, Alan, but what you're making me think of, I'm not opposed to this. I don't see this as robots taking my job. I think when you talked about more of an automated system, like there's a lot of homes, I know in Japan especially they do this, where all the walls are constructed at a factory.
Mm-hmm.
They crank out the walls, they stack them up, they get all of the things assembled in advance, and so when you get to the job site, you have these big trucks that roll up, and you're basically just piecing it together, which to me it just saves you a lot of time.
It's a giant house Lego set.
Right,
yes.
Which is great. So I mean that stuff I'm all for. That's and it makes the homes more affordable, and I mean which that's good.
You're going to see more and more technology like that as we move forward. I see announcements for new companies taking investors all the time, and it is all that we can do this faster, quicker, cheaper, safer, taking advantage of the technologies of the day.
Absolutely. So, well, Alan, speaking of taking advantage of the technologies of the day, perfect segue. I want to talk about Tri-State Interiors, a brand new sponsor of ours. Mike Serafolian runs this operation. Here's what I like about this. They handle remodeling of your kitchen and bathroom. That's sort of their specialty. And, Alan, that's a big undertaking, but it doesn't have to be scary or overly expensive. What's good about what Mike does with Tri-State Interiors, they keep their overhead in the crucial areas low. A lot of people, you're paying a lot of money if there's a fancy showroom or if there's a lot of bells and whistles. What you want is quality craftsmanship, and you want an honest contractor and somebody that knows his stuff that's going to get you the best deals and get the kitchen the way you want it. And so, but what I like too is they don't deal only. You don't have to call them if you want a $100,000 kitchen. You can call them for that, but you can also call them if you want a
we need to
smaller
talk about
remodel.
this bathroom.
Right. They handle it all. They're good people over there, and the quality is top notch. So it's Tri-State Interiors. Mike Serafolian runs it. I'm not going to try to spell his name here, but you can call Mike directly at 901-409-1333. Nice, easy number to remember. Or go to tristateinteriorsllc.com. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break and then talk to our friend Rick Bowman from Weichert Realtors.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
People really don't know how to finish wood properly.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV, and our pals Rick Bowman and Brandy Merrick from Weichert Realtors Benchmark. And we had to throw them in quickly, Alan. It's a short break. I ran outside, got them, brought them in. But guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us back.
Yeah, well, you guys keep the lights on here, man. So
Yeah.
you're always welcome.
I did pay for this, didn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brandy, this is the first time we've met. So
it is.
And Rick speaks very highly of you. The expectations are pretty big. Not to put a lot of stress on.
Oh, I have to do the introduction.
Yeah. So lay it out there. Why did you bring Brandy today?
Top agent in the Weichert franchise system across the entire country. Top one.
Really?
Out of 377 offices, 7,000 agents in 41 states. Have you ever been number one at anything, Joe?
No, don't rub it in. Thanks.
No.
That's pretty impressive, Brandy. Congratulations.
Yeah,
so,
she is.
Holy smokes.
Let's talk about number one. President of the United States. Okay, Michael Phelps, Simone Biles.
Yeah.
Einstein. She is the Dalai Lama of Memphis real estate.
I mean, it's not just Memphis, right? So
yeah, it's across the country.
Holy smoke! So, is she going to have an attitude here, or is this?
I don't know. She's pretty humble.
All right.
Depends on the day.
Well, Brandy, how did you get to this level? That's pretty impressive. I mean, you must eat, sleep, and drink real estate, right? I mean,
a friend did message me after they saw it on Facebook and said, "Do you ever sleep?" And I was like, "Oh, sleep I do. Eat most of the time, but sleep definitely."
Okay.
Honestly, just a lot of hard work. July, it was July, and so it was a bunch of work done in June. And I was telling people, my husband was coming in at like 10:30 at night, like feeding me dinner, like, please eat this, do something other than real estate. So it's good to see it pay off.
So the byproduct is you're neglecting your family and your poor spouse is feeling underappreciated, but no.
Oh, she has kids too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's a super mom. So thanks, Brent. So you're here to make us feel bad about ourselves.
Yeah, we are non-performers, Joe.
Y'all need to step up your game.
Well, Rick, one of the things you wanted to talk about today, which and Brandy, with the real estate market the way it is, this is weird. Now, the last time you were here, Rick, you told us something that really registered with me, and it made a big impact. You said at any given time, like we were talking about back in 2008, before the big crash, you said at any given time there might have been 13,000 homes on the market here in the Mid-South, right?
Right.
And then you said these days it could be as low as 1,300, which I'm
Right.
like, okay. And now you've got all of these realtors competing. You got homeowners that are trying to buy or sell, and suddenly it sounds to me like it's like Mad Max out there, man. It's like,
it's nuts. 1,400 houses on the market in our 4-county area right now, and 3,500, 4,000 real estate agents.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's tooth and nail.
It sounds like a little competitive.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because it's no longer the days. Alan, we remember this back probably when you bought your house. It's like, well, you look it over and you go, well, I'm going to think about it for a couple weeks and we'll get back to you. Well, nowadays that's not happening.
No, that's a good
You got to
point.
you got to win a home, basically.
Yeah, and I do want to throw something out for the listeners, all the potential buyers out there from a realtor's perspective. It's very difficult for us to get a buyer to the point where they understand this, okay, because it's so foreign. And so we go through a situation where a buyer says, well, I want to negotiate on this one. That's fine. We'll do what you want. They lose one house. Then they lose 2 houses. Then they lose 3 houses. Somewhere around house 4 or 5, it sinks in. But I think what it all boils down to is trusting your realtor.
Yeah.
If you cannot trust your realtor's advice to step up and win, then you need to get another realtor.
Right. And I mean, so Brandy, I don't want to start trouble here, but Brandy, you do. It sounds like you could work for any company you want, and yet you choose to work for Weichert.
I do.
Which makes me wonder. So why is that?
Rick believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. We have some incredible brokers, an incredible team. Every agent, we're a family. Every agent is there to help everybody else. From the day I walked in, everybody said, okay, what can I help you do? Everybody's an open book, and a lot of places don't have that team environment. A lot of real estate companies, realtors cover their computer when you walk by it, And at Weichert, we're like, sit down and let me show you and let me teach you and let me help you. And it's an environment you don't get out there. I think I did not start at Weichert. I closed one deal somewhere else, and then I came to Weichert. And I think if I hadn't, I would not be in real estate.
Really?
Oh, I think you've doubled your production almost every year that you've been with us. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, how many years have you been with them?
Almost 5.
Huh. Jeez.
That's relatively new from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm feeling worse about myself at every moment. So she's this young hotshot.
Joe, you should just leave now.
I'm questioning all my life choices. Well, Brandon, no, this is great. So basically, we have experts in the field, and we agree. And Rick, you and I have been friends for years. You're the one that you're the realtor we go to. You got my sister a home here, and you got if you can get me Prince Mongo's home.
Yeah,
we're in business, but
I've told that story a bunch.
I am so sorry for you, Rick. I feel for you.
Well, it wasn't the worst transaction I've ever had.
No. Well, do you guys want to dive into this, because there's realities out there for people? It's highly competitive. The market is just through the roof right now. So let's talk about winning strategies for your home.
I want to throw out. All right, why is it so hot?
Short supply, low interest rates. Everybody has to have a place to live, and Memphis is growing.
Yes.
I guess you guys have seen, that we've been named the number one distribution logistics spot in the country.
Sure.
So there's companies coming here because there's a lot of labor and everybody can work.
Yes.
And there's just more demand for housing. Rents are going up. So if you have to pay $1,500 to rent a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere, you can get a $250,000 house. What are you going to choose?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about it then, man. So let's suppose we're out there, and I guess this goes for the buyer and the seller, right? Or is more for the buyer at this point?
Our business is interesting because you have two sides to work. Your position to work for a buyer is different than your position to work for a seller.
Okay.
What I mean by that, if you're buying, you got to compete, you got to be fast, you got to be on top of it. Your sister's house, good example. Went on the market. I called the agent. I said, "What would you take to put it to bed now? Because we don't want to compete in multiple offers." And we worked that deal out by phone and then put it on paper.
Right. And my sister was moving from Chicago, so I mean that was even a long distance transaction. So yeah, but that's not typical, right? I mean, people are dealing with. They got to get their credit score. They got to get financing. And we should also mention, too, that with Weichert, one beauty is you can get all of that done in one off. You can get underwritten, approved, financed.
Yeah, the approval process is one of those negotiating points, okay? In the mortgage business, years ago, they called it a pre-qual letter, and some of them called it a Swiss cheese letter. It said, yeah, Mr. Smith is qualified, and that's the information that you got. And what we do with our buyers through our office is we qualify them, and we issue a letter saying they're qualified, but we also take the next step and send them to an underwriter and get an underwriting approval. Which, not to get too technical,
nice.
but it means that the credit's been reviewed, the income's been reviewed, and it's already been to a lender that's going to fund the loan, and we'll get an approval back. Sometimes they'll say, okay, we don't need an appraisal. Well, if we get that back, we don't need an appraisal, then we can take that condition out of the contract, which makes us stronger to compete.
It sounds like those letters you get in the mail, Allan, where it says you're pre-approved for this line of credit or this credit card or something. Well, that's all great until but you're not officially approved, right?
Because they don't know anything about you. They got your address.
They just it's a sales pitch at that point. So okay, I don't know.
Now there's a little in-depth work that goes behind this. So as a person that's been through a number of real estate transactions, that I like to do basically abandoned property recovery.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, I'm working on one in Fayette County right now that was, family, grandma, grandpa passes away. Nobody does anything with it for 10 years. They forget it's there. They get a tax bill. They want to sell it, that kind of thing. And, recovering those properties is interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, there's always something in the background.
You don't know what you're going to find when you do that. What should, since I know what I look for in this kind of thing, I'm going to look over here at Brandy and go, all right, so you've got a person needing to come to Memphis. What should they be expecting? What should they be looking for?
They need to learn the areas, really. A lot of people say, well, where should I be? is kind of the biggest question. I have a lot of people say, well, let's just look in Tennessee and Mississippi. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have to narrow this down.
Yeah.
So we kind of go through a pros and cons list. And, I say, tell me what's important to you. Where's your job? Let's Google map how far away you are from the places that are important to you, because we can't cover a 200-mile radius, and find you something that you're going to like. I mean, we're going to be driving all day.
Yeah, Brandy closed 14 houses in July. Okay.
That's why I looked at her.
That's like every other day.
She's got a system.
Yeah.
She's got a system for getting somebody in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah. So that means the buyers, she might have showed 5, 10, 15, 20 houses to the buyers over months. There's a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're laying the groundwork way before they, and I'm thinking it's probably a twofold process, right? You're scouting what's kind of going on out there and anticipating. So when these people walk in the door, it's like, I just happen to have the property that you're thinking of because I've been out, researching it. So
yeah, absolutely. And I do a lot of videos for people out of town too.
Absolutely. So, well, we're going to keep talking about how to win your home here on Tool Talk Radio with, I like this music. I think Rick requested this. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break and continue our discussion with Rick Bowman and Brandy Merrick from Weichert Realtors Benchmark.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan. News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV, and our pals Rick Bowman and Brandy Merrick from Weichert Realtors Benchmark. You can give us a call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, or go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. You can send us messages that way. Give us a like, follow us, and if you're just waking up, well, shame on you for one thing for being so lazy, but also if you missed any of the show, never fear. You can go to tooltalkradio.com and hear any of our past shows. We're getting to the point where you can binge listen.
We're
right,
bingeable
Allan?
now. Yes.
We're banking quite a few episodes. I mean, that doesn't include our past history either, Allan, but that's what's cool. You can listen 24 hours a day. You can join the Tool Talk Radio experience. So there's worse ways to spend your time. I don't know.
You just made my plans for next Friday.
There you go. Well, so if you're just tuning in, so Brandy Merrick is a young hotshot realtor that's basically making me feel pretty inferior, Allan. I mean, she's tell me again, number one agent out of 377 offices, 7,000 Weichert agents, 41 states across the country. Right. Okay. And we were talking about here in Memphis, especially the real estate market is highly competitive because there's a low inventory. So it's dog eat dog. It's like it's like we said, it's like Mad Max out there. So you need an agent that can navigate all of those waters and everything. So Brandy, we want to talk about that. So there basically it's no longer just shopping around. You have to win the house. You have to have almost a fighter's mentality, right?
You really do. And picking a real estate agent that's correct for that is a big part of that. You could lose the house simply because of the agent that you picked.
Yeah. We'll talk about some of these strategies because off the air you were telling us some pretty interesting ways you've landed some houses.
I think the biggest thing is relationships with other agents. We are all co-workers. We're going to work together a lot, and we need to have good open lines of communication. Nothing's more frustrating than not being able to get in touch with the other person. And so I think that's a really big thing. I focus a lot on my relationships with other agents at our company and at other companies, just because we are going to work together a lot. We have a few other things that we do. An escalation clause is a good way to win a house, where you say, we are going to, let's say the house is listed at $250,000. We're going to offer $260,000, but we're willing to pay up to $270,000 if there's a higher offer. So we say we're going to escalate it to $270,000. If you have another offer, we will beat that offer by $2,000 up to X amount.
Yeah, so for those of you who like to buy like baseball cards on eBay, that's called sniping, right? I mean, that's where, because I've tried that, Brandy, where I'm bidding on something, and I it's always the last day of the or it's actually the last 5 minutes of the bid, and all of a sudden you make a bid and somebody else jumps in, so you're sniping in real estate, right?
Yep, and winning.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, I'm not faulting you for that. You're using, but I guess I'm wondering, would that have been possible, Rick, 20 years ago? Is this part of technology that's making this possible?
No, it wouldn't have been necessary.
Okay. Oh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before you would have been talking people down from their offer.
Yeah. It's not a technology thing. It's a courage thing. Ask for it, compete.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's one thing you guys do. You think dynamically over there. I remember some of these, even with buying my sister's house, you made some proposals to me, Rick, that I'm like, well, can you even do that? It's like, well.
Yeah. I mean, you ask for everything.
That's cool. Yeah. So you need realtors that basically have that mentality. And you do, I will give you this, Rick. You are outside the box. So. It sounds like you instill that with everybody over there.
That sounds like a compliment.
Take it as it.
Joe, you're outside the box as well, so we have a lot in common. And neither one of us are afraid to try something new. I will say that about you.
I think that's true, man. So, but basically, I guess you have to. So people have to be. Let's suppose you want to move like we said, you want to move to Memphis. You better start laying the groundwork in advance, right? You got to get pre-qualified. You got to, I guess, what are you advising people if they say, hey, in 6 months, I'm moving to Memphis and I need a house? What would you tell those people?
Get your financing in line, of course. Be qualified. Know what we can do there so we can write a contract. Also, do your market research, even if it's just online. And the challenge is it's people that are going to be there in 2 or 3 weeks. We're sending them houses, and they're like, well, check on this one. So check on this one. So check on this one. So when you get to town, you need to be ready to write a contract, because the ones that you're looking at 2 weeks ahead of time are going to be gone. If they're the nice houses. True story, I have a sweet customer that I worked with, and she did not want to compete. Every time a new house came on the market, I said, okay, there's a bunch of people looking at it, multiple offer situations. We'd pull up in front of the house. If there were other people in the house, she said, I don't want to look at it. I said, then, okay, you don't want to buy one of the nice houses, right? No, that's a true story.
Yeah,
and
it sounds like you're,
I mean, I had to be honest, and that's what's hard in our business is to cut to the chase and be honest with customers. We have to tell them what they don't want to hear sometimes.
Right. So you got to be able to deliver the bad news. So. Yeah, I don't know, man. But it is different because buying a home is a big deal. It's a big life decision. So are you running into any, I don't know, Brandy, are you running into any, we had a builder on a few weeks ago, Katie Clark, who builds homes, and she was talking about throughout the process, at some point, the wife breaks down in tears because they can't decide on the flooring tile or the whatever. But how much of the emotions do you see in this? Like, are they second guessing themselves? Are they in tears at the closing, or what? How do you calm those troubled waters? So.
Emotions are very, very high. I will tell you, I have a degree in psychology and I use it a lot.
That doesn't surprise me.
There was about a month ago, there was a 6-day period where 14 different clients had called me crying in those 6 days, just whether it was real estate related or not. Emotions are high with everything going on in life. And then we add all of this. And so whether it was moving or, some people are selling their parents' house, and that's a hard thing for them. Some people are buying their first house and they're excited about that. So, I mean, there are very few transactions that are just cut and dry, emotionless. And it's definitely, you need someone who's going to be there and listen. And I mean, there are some days where I spend hours just listening and talking to my clients because that's what they need from me. And I always say my job is whatever you need from me today.
Nice.
That's great. You never told me that before. So when I interview agents, I'll have somebody come in, they'll want to be a new agent. They go, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I said, we don't need you.
Right.
Well, what you need is customer service, and if you could get any kind of degree, it'd be psychology.
I'm all for that. I think that's, that's Allan, you and I. That's why we give out marriage advice on the show.
Give out marriage
as contractors.
advice.
We've become experts in marital psychology. So, well, and Rick, let's talk about that, because it's not just buying and selling homes. You have to recruit the right people. So,
that's
tell
a
us
challenge.
what you're looking for, man.
Well, a statistic: 4 out of 5 new agents get out of business, I think, in the first 3 or 4 years. So it takes a special person to really succeed in this business, and you've got to have a lot of different skills. I worked with a guy one time. He said, "Well, I want to get into the real estate side, but I don't really want to work weekends, and I don't really want to prospect for customers, and I don't want to show too many houses." He said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "I think you'll get out of it what you put into it."
Yeah. That's what you said?
Yeah.
I bet you said something else, Rick.
Maybe see you later, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much the opposite of why you would get into real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't know, but so that's what you're not looking for.
Right.
You're looking for a go-getter that.
We're looking for people that represent us well. Our company culture is very important to me, and I haven't made the most money of every real estate broker in town, but I like what I do, and I like the people that work with us. And that's what it's all about, is culture.
That says so much these days. When you can work with any professional it's a relationship. When you have these relationships and you can be comfortable, and you get comfortable with, we pick on a lot of our family members around here. It is comforting to be able to say, oh, well, if you need this, call so and so.
Yeah.
Or you need this, call so-and-so, and relax that you did a good thing.
Well, and I also like that with Rick, what's fun? I've never felt like I've asked him a dumb question, even though I'm thinking this is a dumb question, but I'm going to ask him. And, a lot of times it kind of gets you thinking about stuff. One thing I like about Rick and the culture at Weichert Realtors Benchmark is they are open-minded. As I say, if they can get Prince Mongo's home closed.
I'm still speaking to Joe, so you got to be open.
So Rick, we haven't even given out. How do people get in touch with Weichert Realtors?
Oh, 202-2000. Pick that phone number in 1999, because that's what everybody was talking about. And you can reach Brandy at 202-2000, or you can reach me at 202-2000.
Absolutely. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break and then come back and continue our talk about how to win a home.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
People really don't know how to finish wood properly.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
I'm sorry, Ron Swanson, but I do know how to finish wood properly. I resent that. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV, and our pals Rick Bowman and Brandy Merrick from Weichert Realtors Benchmark. And anyway, there's just enough time if you want to give us a quick call, or maybe a text is better, at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And Allan, I don't want to run out of time to quickly remind people that if you need a deck or a pergola or a patio cover or a fence or really anything made out of wood for the outside of your home, give me a call at 901-921-7105 or visit my website, thorshomes.com. And Allan, what if they want to know more about Geeky Side TV?
Right. Well,
give us the quick pitch, sir.
The quick pitch. The quick pitch is Halloween is right around the corner, and we are featuring this week's Scary Stories with Kalila.
Is it really around the corner? For you, it's around the corner.
Man, I got
November
pumpkins.
1st.
Halloween is around the corner. It is coming. So pop over on Roku, Apple TV, or Fire Stick. You can look up Geeky Side TV, or you can go to geekysidetv.com and check out all of our shows.
Absolutely. So, so we're talking to Rick and Brandy here about, the real estate game here in Memphis especially is out of control. It's low inventory and a lot of competing offers, a lot of competing realtors. So let's talk turkey here. Brandy, you've got some actual strategies that we want to talk about. So lay it out there for us.
Getting through the door quickly and first is important. We take 2 cars everywhere so that if a house comes up, I'm like, I'll see you in an hour. That's a big thing. Getting that, if somebody says they're taking offers for 3 or 4 days, I always tell my buyers, they're like, well, at least I can think about it. I'm like, no, you can't. It is completely the seller's choice whether they want it. They can say that and they can cut that off and make a decision in an hour. So let's be the decision that they make in an hour. Right. So we need to be the first people through the door. We need to get the best offer laid out to them. I tried something a few weeks ago and I could not be any happier with it. We wanted to go up to 185 to offer on a house. And I said, well, let's go to 182 and then offer $3,000 more if they accept it in the next 4 hours. So we're basically saying you're going to make more money if you just go ahead and accept our already great offer and cut off other showings. And I said, I don't know if it's going to work, and it did.
I'm curious, what was the asking price for this 185 house?
I think it was only in the 170s. I mean, this, in terms of going above, I mean, I've had, $450,000 houses where we offered $515 and did not get it.
Wow.
So in terms of the market, this was not a massive over the list price offer.
Can I ask you something too, Brandy? Because what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, well, if you're asking $450 and it's selling for more than $500, well, why don't you ask for more? Like, I guess that's the other part. You've got to ask for the right amount, right?
You do. You really have to trust your agent and have a good agent that's on top of it. They have to be running the comps, running the numbers, and telling you, I'll go back to my people, and I have told several people this before. I've said, hey, you cannot buy this house because it is only worth $200,000 and somebody's going to pay $220 and it's not going to be you at this point.
Okay.
You really have to have somebody who, I tell people all the time, hey, I don't think you should offer on this house, or I'll say, this is what you need to offer to get it. And this is what my advice is. And you can do it, you can do what you want with that, but I'm not going to let you overpay. There are still smart ways to get people houses without them having to,
it's a lot of moving parts because it's still, at one day, hopefully the market isn't going to be like this. So you've got an investment. You don't want to overpay, by $50,000 or something like that. Right. So yeah.
Exactly. You don't. So, coming in quickly, having the relationships with other agents. Those are the other things. Waiving contingencies, I have people,
what is that? Explain that for people.
So when you have the real estate contract, there's several contingencies in there. You're contingent on financing, appraisal, inspection. I've had people go in and say, well, I don't want an inspection. I say, okay, well, just so you know, I did not recommend not to have an inspection. I'm like, write that down and sign it. But if that's where somebody's head is at, I say, okay, we can go in waiving the inspection, because even if there's nothing wrong with the house, sellers are going to sit there and sweat that inspection, and so are the buyers, and nobody can move forward until then.
Right.
Or like Rick said earlier, if we get the appraisal waived, that is a huge burden off of everybody, where everybody's kind of sitting there holding their breath. The deal depends on the appraisal, if it's financing and if they don't have the cash to pay over. And the appraisal is one of the last pieces to come in of the entire deal. So you're sitting there sweating, a 4-week contract for 3 weeks.
Yeah, because the other thing I'm thinking about as you're saying this is, Rick, you're waiting for inspections, you're waiting for people to give the appraisals. Those guys all got to schedule their appointments, right? So it's just a lot of people you got to manage.
And sometimes your buyer has made an offer. Just imagine that the seller's looking at 10 contracts in front of them, and they're looking at these basically 5 or 6 points on each contract. How can you make each point stronger? Earnest money is something that's kind of interesting, because Memphis has typically been a low earnest money town. So somebody's buying a $300,000 house, and they put up $1,000 earnest money.
Right.
Now, we all know that if something goes wrong with financing or inspection, you get your earnest money back. But when the seller's looking at offers and they see one with $1,000 or they see one with $20,000, they make the assumption that, oh, this is a stronger buyer.
Okay. They're pretty earnest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
And if they got cash reserves, that just says something about probably their finances.
Well, cash is king. And Brandy and I have both sold houses to buyers that were going to pay cash. And we said, we're going to write the offer. You're going to close in 2 weeks. You're going to pay cash. Let's write the earnest money for the price of the house.
I'd like to be in that situation.
It worked. It worked for her. It worked for me.
Yeah, I would think. Well, Rick, no offense. If you can't make that work, jeez. Okay, all right. What are some other things you got for us, Brandy?
Not having a house to sell, not having that home sale contingency is a big deal. A lot of sellers do not want to take, the chance that it's now another layer and you have to sell your house and then there's another buyer on that side that you have to sell it to. But I know some people can't waive that.
Right.
A lot of people have to sell to buy. And so you have to be really strategic about that too. I got one worked out last night. We've been looking for a year and a half, and it was every single time we offered, it was the home sale contingency because we couldn't put their house on the market until they got the right house. And we finally got the right house last week, and we got their house on the market and got it under contract last night. And everybody's closing on the same day, but you got to get 5 parties at that point to line up, and it's like the stars have to align for somebody with a home sale contingency, so it just takes time.
Jeez. Yeah, but I could see where you really got to be committed to this, right, Rick? I mean, real estate is a 24-hour, 24-hour game.
I'm sure her husband is like my wife when the phone rings at 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
You're like, really? Really?
Yeah, I wonder about that. So, well, you got to navigate that. Maybe we'll have you back to talk about that. We need to have you back for one of our marriage segment advices. So, yeah. But no, this is good stuff. And it sounds like, too, if you don't, well, for one thing, you have to trust your realtor because a lot of these decisions and a lot of these, I'm guessing a lot of these conversations are going on between you and other realtors, and you can't call your buyer every 2 minutes with a new question or a new, point to bring up, right? So
exactly. And I love text messaging. I do not understand how people got this job done with multiple clients before that, because I'll be talking to 7 people at once, and I'm like, then my phone will ring, and I'm like, oh, no, we got to keep texting.
Yeah, hey, back when I got in this business, we didn't have cell phones. You had to carry quarters in your car and stop at the payphones.
I wondered about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I remember when the pager came along, we thought that was the niftiest thing.
Yeah, that's right.
That's probably before you were born, right?
I was 15, and I had a pager, and I was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, there you go.
Yeah, those things were cool, but you still had to get to a phone and everything. You're right, though. I mean, the technology has made it easier and harder in some ways, right? I mean, because it's instant now. There's just you don't drag your feet anymore.
No, it's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
We're always accessible. So we're always supposed to be by our phones. Everybody knows that we're by our phones.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess in the old days, the realtors probably had happier marriages, right? They didn't give out their home phone number, and they had
I don't think we have
office
enough
hours
time to get into all that, Joe.
Yeah, this is what we want to unpack, because here on Tool Talk Radio, we're all about we're all about human psychology and just marital bliss and all that. But it just sounds like it's a very multi-layered process. And one thing, like we said, Rick, with you guys, you eliminate a lot of that because you've got all of it under one roof. Like, we didn't even talk about really that much of the financing process and how you can help beef up their credit scores.
Yeah,
right?
well, and the quick plug is we're the only company I'm aware of in town or across the country that can help folks get the credit score they need to buy a house, fund their mortgage loan, and then help them shop and buy.
Yeah, I mean, which don't undersell that. It's pretty useful. And like I said, you guys have a comfortable. When you go to the office, for one thing, there's a good culture, like you said. There's a good vibe when you go in there, and it's kind of like walking into a party, Alan. I know you love their kitchen and the ping pong table and the foosball and all that.
I was going to bring a prop from the office for every show, but I didn't have time to go pick up the shot put today.
Yeah, shot put. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where that
I
comes
have
in.
one.
Yeah. For
Okay.
what? Is that for annoying clients?
Well, no, I didn't have one.
Yeah, just for what? We have a bat signal, too.
Yeah, that's right. We have a bat signal.
Oh, yeah, Joe going now.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I was going to bring something for Joe's benefit, so I may do it next time we're on. But
well,
I'm sort of looking at Brandy and I'm going, this foosball tape is going to be covered in dust and dust bunnies because y'all ain't got time to play.
Yeah.
We don't, but my kids do when I have to run by the office 20 times a day.
There's the secret. Now, now I see Rick's genius.
Yeah,
there we go.
You remember in the movie Thor where Thor's mother said, "Your father has a plan for everything. There's a reason for everything he does." So there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing that goes to waste over at Weichert Realtors.
All right, see now I totally get it. Okay.
All right, Rick. Before we get out of here, how do people get in touch with you? How how do they get in touch with Brandy?
Yep, 901-202-2000. Somebody will answer the phone during the week. You leave a message over the weekends and get in touch with Brandy or I or any one of our 40 agents.
Okay, absolutely. And by the way, big shout out to Kelly Cruz. She's been bringing us some great sponsors now. Kicking off the show, the powdered Mr. Beef's powdered steak batter. I think was one of my favorites. So yeah, but Brandy, hey, well, we want to have you back in, and especially like I'm thinking here, the home improvement marriage advice.
Mm-hmm.
See how that plays out. Anyway, well, guys, it's been a lot of fun having you here, but unfortunately, we're out of time. So until next week, this has been another action-packed episode of Tool Talk Radio, brought to you by News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. So on behalf of my friends Allan Gilbreth, Rick Bowman, and Brandy Merrick, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.